I came back to New York a day early. Surprises like that usually keep Anna excited for days. I stood at the front door with my suitcase and checked the time. 8:15 a.m. At this hour, she should have just finished making coffee. I pulled out my key and turned it. The door was deadbolt from the inside. I frowned and rang the bell. The apartment was quiet. A full minute passed before I finally heard hurried footsteps inside. The door opened. Anna stood there in the doorway, one button on her pajamas fastened wrong. Her hair was a mess. She was breathing a little too fast, staring at me like she'd just seen a ghost that wasn't supposed to exist. "Matthew? Why are you back already?" Her voice was hoarse. I looked past her shoulder into the living room. There must have been quite a party here last night. 2 empty glasses sat on the coffee table beside an open bottle of bourbon, the remaining liquid glinting in the morning sun. 2 stubbed-out cigars rested in the ashtray. Anna doesn't smoke cigars. The meeting ended early, I said, walking in and setting down my suitcase. Did someone come by last night? Anna stepped in front of me, clutching the collar of her pajamas. It was Lisa. She was having a rough night, so we had a few drinks. Lisa smokes Cuban cigars. I looked toward the couch. A man's suit jacket was tossed over it. Dark blue. Tailored. Definitely not cheap. Anna's face went instantly pale. She opened her mouth but couldn't say anything. I didn't wait for an answer. I headed straight for the master bedroom. "Matthew, don't go in there." She grabbed my arm from behind. I shook her off and kicked the door open. The bed was a mess. The air was thick with perfume mixed with the scent of another man. It was Anna's favorite sandalwood fragrance. A man stood beside the bed, buttoning up his shirt. David Miller. My college classmate. My business partner. "Matthew, listen to me." David froze for a second, then quickly regained his composure. He didn't even try to hide. I walked over and looked him in the eye. "When did this start?" "Last night." Anna rushed in, standing in front of David. "He drank too much. It was late. I just let him stay over. On our bed." I gestured at the wrecked sheets. David smiled, the kind of smile that carried the arrogance of someone who thought he'd already won. He calmly put on the suit jacket that had been lying in the living room and adjusted his collar in the mirror. "She told me you'd be out of town for 2 days, David said, turning to me. "Since you're back early, Matthew, maybe we should talk." He sat down in my armchair and lit a third cigar. "Anna says you can't give her the life she wants. You're always busy, buried in those damn reports. But I can drink with her. I can stay up talking with her all night." I looked at Anna. She stood behind David now. The guilt in her eyes had disappeared, replaced by a cold sense of justification. "Since you've already seen everything, Matthew, we should get a divorce," Anna said quietly. "The house goes to me. It's in the prenup, if you're at fault, or what?" I cut in. "Or if you can't support the household anymore," David finished. He pulled a stack of papers from his pocket and tossed them on the table. "Matthew, the project you were in charge of got cut by the board this morning after its funding collapsed. I'm the acting executive. I signed the order. Right now you've not only lost your job, you can't even afford the mortgage on this place." David stood up and wrapped an arm around Anna's shoulders. "Now this house, and this woman, belong to me." He pointed at the door. "You can get out." I looked at them. The two of them stood side by side like victorious inspectors surveying what they'd conquered. I smiled. I walked over to the liquor cabinet and poured myself a glass of whiskey. "David, you do understand Anna better than I do," I said, taking a sip. "But you don't understand me well enough." I pulled a small black flash drive out of my suitcase and set it on the table. "Do you know where I really went these past 2 days?" David frowned. "I didn't go to Boston for a meeting. I went to Los Angeles, to see your ex-wife and your auditor." David's expression changed. "Those overseas investments you handled?" I set up the accounts. "You've been moving company money around for the past 2 years to impress Anna, haven't you? You thought it was flawless. But you forgot, every bit of that financial logic is something I taught you." I tapped my phone, and a recording began to play. It was David, drunk, bragging to Anna about exactly how he'd been siphoning company funds. Anna had recorded it herself, just in case she needed leverage later, and stored it in our cloud backup. She probably thought I never checked that folder. "Anna, do you really think he loves you?" I said, looking at my wife. "Did he tell you last night that once he took control of the company, he'd marry you?" Anna froze and turned to look at David. Sweat began to bead on his forehead. "Matthew, this is a misunderstanding. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about." I pointed toward the door. "The police should already be downstairs. David, embezzlement on that scale is good for about 15 years. Right then, the doorbell rang again. This time it wasn't a surprise. It was the sound of uniformed footsteps. The police took David away. He looked like a drowned rat as they let him out. One of the buttons on his suit popped loose. Only Anna and I were left in the apartment. She rushed over, dropping to her knees and grabbing my pant leg. "Matthew, he lied to me. He forced me. He threatened your future." I pulled my leg free and took out the divorce papers I'd already prepared. "Sign it." "Matthew, you can't do this. I have nowhere to go. This house doesn't belong to you," I said calmly. "And it doesn't belong to me either. I already mortgaged it to the bank and used the money to short David's company." "You're right, I can't afford the mortgage anymore. The bank will seize the house tomorrow." I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the door. "When you let him stay here last night, you should have realized something. This home was already gone." I closed the door behind me without looking back. Anna's desperate scream echoed from inside. I stepped into the elevator. The New York sunlight was still blinding.